All Amani Rose wanted was a gift for her grandmother. What she got instead was an interrogation that made her feel small, suspicious, and out of place, until her mother arrived and turned the tide with a quiet, unwavering fury. But it all began with something simple: a necklace, small and unassuming, sterling silver. No glittering gems, no bold designer stamp. Just a modest piece resting on black velvet inside Preston and Coe Jewelers, an upscale boutique tucked away in a quiet plaza in Santa Clarita, California. That necklace had gone unnoticed by most who wandered past it, dismissed as too plain, too forgettable. But not to Amani. To her, it was everything. She had first laid eyes on it 2 Saturdays earlier while walking home after her shift at the Valencia Library. She wasn't supposed to linger near shops like that, not in her worn sneakers, not with chip polish on her nails or a phone screen lined with scratches. But she had paused anyway, peeking through the window, and there it was, quiet, delicate, and strangely familiar. It reminded her of the necklace her grandmother used to wear, the one stolen during a break-in 2 summers ago. It wasn't flashy, it just felt right. And so, Amani began saving. She skipped snacks after school, raked leaves and pulled weeds for neighbors, tucked crumpled bills into an envelope hidden beneath her mattress, and tracked every cent in the budgeting app on her phone like it was sacred. 50 here, 10 there, until today, Saturday, when she finally had enough. Her shift at the library had dragged, shelving endless books, answering the same questions, wiping down smudged tables. Her feet were sore, her eyes heavy. But the thought of that necklace, of finally being able to give her grandmother something that mattered, pushed her forward. 6 blocks past the library, straight into the glowing glass door of Preston and Coe. The soft chime of the bell welcomed her. And that's where it all began, though not in the way it should have, not the way a 15-year-old girl with hope in her heart deserves. From the moment she stepped inside, Amani felt the shift in atmosphere. The air wasn't cold, but it wasn't welcoming either. It pressed in on her, heavy and watchful. Soft jazz floated overhead. The floor was polished to a mirror-like sheen, reflecting her sneakers back at her like they didn't belong. It was the kind of place where people lowered their voices, where everything whispered, "You don't fit." Amani hesitated just past the entrance, instinctively sliding her phone into her back pocket and tugging the hoodie tied around her waist a little tighter. Her backpack slipped from one shoulder, and she adjusted it quickly, aware of every movement like it might be too loud, too messy. Behind the glass counter stood a woman, Margaret Ellison, neatly dressed, silver hair pinned just so, reading glasses dangling from a delicate chain. Her eyes were sharp, unwavering. She didn't smile when she saw Amani, not even a flicker. Amani took a slow step forward, heading toward the necklace display she already knew by heart. Same shelf, same velvet corner, third row from the left. She crouched gently, careful not to fog the glass. Still, Margaret remained rooted behind the counter, her gaze fixed. A few moments later, a white woman in heels and oversized sunglasses walked in. Instantly, Margaret's demeanor changed. She brightened, smile wide, voice warm. "Hi there, welcome to Preston's. Let me know if you need anything." The woman nodded and wandered toward the diamond earrings. Imani raised a hand slightly, her voice soft but steady. "Excuse me, I was wondering if I could see—" Margaret's smile dropped like a curtain. Her voice flattened. "Which one?" Amani pointed. "That one, on the black velvet square." Margaret stepped slowly from behind the counter. Her heels clicked against the tile like the ticking of a distant clock. As she bent to unlock the case, her eyes flicked toward Amani's backpack. "You can leave your bag by the counter," she said without meeting Amani's eyes. "Sorry?" Amani asked, confused. just to avoid knocking anything over. Store policy. Amani hesitated. She'd never heard of a policy like that before, but she complied, unzipping her backpack halfway and turning it outward. There's just books and my wallet. I'm not going to touch anything else. I promise. Margaret didn't respond. She simply retrieved the necklace using white gloves, placing it delicately on a velvet pad. Amani stepped forward, her breath caught in her throat. Seeing it up close again, it stirred something in her chest. Do you know how much it is with tax? She asked quietly. Margaret tapped numbers into a small calculator. It's $92 even. Amani pulled out her phone to double-check the budget she'd been tracking religiously for weeks. That's when she noticed it, Margaret's gaze sharpening, her body stilling. Amani tried to focus, scrolling through the app. She had exactly $94.07. Relief bloomed in her chest. She allowed herself a small smile. I think I'll take it. But Margaret didn't move. Instead, she stared at Amani, then at the door. Are you here with someone? She asked flatly. Amani blinked. No, just me. Margaret's lips pressed into a thin line. Then without a word, she turned and walked toward the back office, taking the necklace with her. Amani stood there unsure. Should she follow? Wait? Something felt wrong, but she couldn't place it. The other customer had already left. The store was now eerily quiet. What Amani didn't know was that Margaret had already picked up the phone. She didn't say the word emergency. She didn't say danger. She didn't say theft. But the words she did use, they were just enough. This is Margaret Ellison at Preston and Company Jewelers on Lyons Avenue. I have a teenage girl here. Black gray hoodie. She's been hanging around the high-value cases. Looks nervous. On her phone a lot. I just want someone to come check it out. You know, just in case. Just in case. Like she was doing her civic duty. The dispatcher assured her someone would be sent. Margaret thanked her, hung up, and returned to the showroom like nothing had happened. Amani was still there, fingers nervously grazing the zipper on her backpack, trying to decide if she should say something. Margaret smiled now, falsely sweet. Sorry about the wait, she said. Before we ring it up, would you mind taking your hands out of your pockets? Amani looked down. Her hands had been resting in the front of her hoodie. She hadn't even realized. She slowly raised them, palms open. Okay, I'm not hiding anything. Of course not, Margaret replied. Then the door opened again. But it wasn't a new customer. 2 police officers entered, a man and a woman. Uniformed, expressionless. They walked directly to the counter, not even glancing around. Ma'am, the male officer said. That's her, Margaret whispered. Imani's brow furrowed. Wait, what's happening? The officers flanked her, not hostile, but not relaxed either. Their eyes scanned her, dissecting her presence. We received a report about suspicious behavior, the woman officer said calmly. Can you tell us what you're doing here? Amani's heart raced. I'm here to buy a necklace, she said, her voice cracking under the sudden weight of shame and confusion. I've been saving for it, for weeks. Do you have ID? I'm 15. The officer gave a slow nod. All right, do you have anything in your pockets? Amani's face turned red. Her voice broke. No, I didn't take anything. The second officer's hand hovered near his belt. We're just going to ask you to step aside and empty your pockets, please. Amani looked over at Margaret, the woman behind the counter. Margaret didn't meet her eyes. This couldn't be real. Not over a necklace. Not for simply standing too long in a store she clearly didn't belong in. Not in this skin, not in these clothes. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out her phone. She tapped Mom, the most recent contact. No message. Just send location and then help. Across town, in a beige office with thick glass windows, Nadia Ross saw the alert pop up on her screen. She stood so fast her chair hit the wall behind her. Back in the store, Officer Daniels, tall and stiff, moved toward Amani. "Let's not make this a scene. Just empty your pockets and we'll be done." Her voice was almost a whisper. "I didn't take anything." Her hands shook as she slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone, a crumpled receipt, and $2 in quarters. That was all. She looked again at Margaret, silently begging for help. A small word, a nod. She didn't take it, or she was just asking. Anything. But Margaret stood still, arms folded, eyes looking anywhere but at Amani. The other officer, Ramirez, finally spoke. "Do you have a receipt for anything you bought today?" "I didn't buy it yet," Amani said softly. "I just asked to see it. I have the money. You can count it." Ramirez glanced at Daniels. "Do you mind if we check your bag?" Daniels asked. "Why?" Amani's voice cracked. "It's just our policy." "No," she said, her voice shaking. "I didn't take anything. You can ask her to check the display." Daniels moved his hand slightly toward the radio, the cuffs. His face was calm, but the tension in his jaw gave him away. "I'm not going to tell you again." Amani's breathing sped up. Her legs felt like jelly. Her eyes stung, but she held it in. She would not cry. Not here. Then the doorbell chimed. Firm footsteps on tile. No hesitation. Nadia Ross walked in like she owned the place. Her blazer swung open just enough to show the badge on her belt. Her eyes locked on her daughter. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't ask any questions. She spoke one word. "Amani." Amani looked up. "Mom." Daniels turned halfway, confused. Ramirez froze. Nadia walked slowly between the officers and her daughter. Calm, controlled. "I got a message saying my daughter was being questioned. Would someone like to explain why?" Daniels shifted. "We got a call about someone suspicious. The store associate." "She's 15, Nadia said. "She walked in, asked about a necklace, and now you're reaching for your handcuffs?" Ramirez jumped in. "Ma'am, we didn't detain her. We were just asking questions." "While standing over her like she was dangerous? Without a parent?" "And you are?" Ramirez asked. Nadia opened her jacket and held up her ID. "Nadia Ross, FBI Supervisory Special Agent. And that girl is my daughter." The room froze. Daniels looked like the floor disappeared beneath him. Ramirez stepped back. Margaret, still behind the counter, suddenly went pale. Nadia turned to Amani, softer now. "Did they touch you?" Amani shook her head, still too shocked to speak. "Did they accuse you of anything?" "They told me to empty my pockets. They were going to search my bag." Nadia turned back to the officers. "So why did this need two cops? Why did suspicion come before a question? Because she didn't look like someone who could shop here?" Daniels opened his mouth, closed it, looked toward Margaret. Nadia's eyes moved to the counter. "Is there a rule that says teenagers can't shop here? Or just black teenagers in hoodies?" Margaret said nothing, but silence can shout louder than words. She'd worked at Preston and Comby for over 25 years, through proposals, heartbreaks, family heirlooms, but she had never seen anything like this. The officers backed away slowly, realizing they weren't in control anymore. "I want your badge numbers," Nadia said. Ramirez handed her a card. Daniels followed reluctantly. "You'll be hearing from Internal Affairs," Nadia said, "and I'll be filing a formal complaint. She's a child." They didn't argue. They just nodded and left. But Daniels looked back one last time. Amani didn't flinch, didn't look away. Once the door shut, it was just the three of them. Nadia turned toward Margaret, walked slowly. Margaret's fingers tapped the counter. "I didn't mean for it to go that far," she said, voice smaller than before. "She just looked nervous." "She's 15, Nadia said, wearing jeans, a hoodie, money in her hand. What made her seem suspicious to you? Margaret looked down. I just wanted to be safe. Safe from what? The room went quiet again. She was buying a gift for her grandmother. She saved up. And instead of joy, she got surrounded like a criminal because you didn't trust her. I'm sorry, Margaret whispered. Sorry doesn't undo the damage, Nadia said. It doesn't erase what you told her, that she didn't belong. Amani stayed quiet, arms crossed, but her jaw was tight, holding it all in. Margaret offered, I can give her the necklace, no charge. Nadia turned to her daughter. Amani? Her voice was strong now. I don't want anything from here. She put her backpack on and walked toward the door. Nadia gave Margaret one last look, not loud, not angry, just clear, then followed her daughter outside. The sun was starting to drop behind the hills. Amani walked ahead, stiff and silent, not crying, not speaking, just forward. Nadia let her lead. Sometimes silence speaks better than words. 2 blocks later, Amani stopped outside an old frozen yogurt shop. Closed now, chairs up on tables. But the memories were still there. She leaned against the wall. I didn't do anything, she said, voice breaking. I know. They didn't even talk to her. They came straight to me. I've been where you are, Nadia said. What was I supposed to do? Smile more? Dress nicer? Speak softer? There was nothing you could have done differently, Nadia said. That part isn't your fault. Amani crossed her arms. Then what's the point of being good, being careful, staying out of trouble, if I'm still seen as wrong? Nadia looked away, then back. The point is, you still walk into that store. You still save your money. You still ask about the necklace. You don't change yourself just because someone refuses to see your worth. Tears filled Amani's eyes, and this time she let them fall. I hate that this is normal. It shouldn't be, Nadia said. But until it isn't, you stand tall. You let them feel uncomfortable with how confident you are. They stood there for a moment. Then Nadia pulled out her phone and called a colleague. Yes, Officers Daniels and Ramirez. Incident at Preston and Company. I want their body cam footage pulled before anything gets deleted. She hung up. Let me guess, Amani said. Paperwork? I'm doing more than paperwork. Amani gave a small smile. Can we just go home? Yeah, Nadia replied, but not yet. Where are we going? You'll see. They walked another block and stepped into a small jewelry shop. Old carpet, wood polish in the air. A warm smile from a black woman behind the counter. Looking for a necklace, Nadia said. Something simple. My daughter's buying a gift. Then let's find her something worth saving for, the woman replied. Amani's fingers finally relaxed. Her shoulders softened. Across town, a necklace sat behind glass in a store no one wanted to walk into anymore. That night, Amani sat on the floor, a small brown bag in her lap. She didn't open it yet, just held it, felt its weight. Nadia watched from the couch, quiet pride in her eyes. The kind that doesn't have to say, I'm proud of you. The kind that means, I see you. I believe you. I picked the one with the heart charm, Amani said. Grandma's going to love it. She's going to treasure it, Nadia replied. Do you think people like that lady ever change? Some do, not all. But when you call things what they are, when you make people sit with what they did, sometimes they think twice next time. I didn't like how I felt. You weren't supposed to. I'm still angry. That's okay. Be angry. Just don't let it change who you are. The room went still. Then Amani opened the bag. Inside, her necklace, bought with her own money, chosen on her terms. She smiled, not wide but real. And Nadia smiled too, because that necklace meant more than just a gift now. It was a reminder that your worth is never up for debate, that doing the right thing might not feel good, but it matters. and that sometimes the strongest act is refusing to be small.